Welcome everyone to more open source work here, live on our channel today. Hopefully a quick kish how to fix sources, because don't teach a human, I don't like give a human something to eat and he has something to eat for a day or two. Teach a human to fish and farm and stuff and he has something for the rest of their life. So after this video, patches welcome, right? Because I can't fix everything alone. So usually you try to build some stuff. Let's just quickly look at something else that failed because I thought, okay, fine, need to probably do that later. Still fails. Anyway, RISCV, not vintage, but then latest and greatest RISCV stuff. And so all other architectures built. So as per usual, something fails. Recurring theme here, right? Daily or hourly, and someone needs to fix stuff like RISCV. In this case, two things: sysvinit and embutils. So the embutils, of course, is unsuccessful one-man's embedded util stuff of abandonware that we only use for more minimal init RD. But otherwise, let's take a look at this sysvinit first, so that people don't complain like, yeah, but this embutils like you use the slowest quality Felix from Leitner software there. It's like, yeah, no wonder, right? No, sysvinits, and I suspect this is some, so this here is some system header, so Linux mount H, so there's some file system config command reconfigure stuff here, like redefine, where was the first of, so what you usually start with, the first error, right? I also often make the tiny mistake of searching from the end, because you go to the end and then naturally, but often there is either another root case or more major error first and stuff, so always actually look from the beginning, which I also sometimes don't do. But so the issue is, and so the issue is always something else, right? Of course, stuff like make this morning, previous video, stuff might or will always break differently because the only constant is change and regressions. In this case, here's some system headers, user include here our new sys root of bootstrapping new toolchain and system here in user source t2 clean build RISCV of a new system root, cross compile, and cross compiling usually doesn't matter, right? It's the same, you have sources, you have a compiler, just you can't run the executable, which is 99% or should always be irrelevant. So stuff breaks, in this case system headers, so that is user include Linux mount. This most likely is from the Linux kernel headers. And there's a redeclaration, so that's also in this mount. That usually, I mean, we can check that. Let's quickly check that. So that is like, was it both mount, right? But this is also, yeah, 30 years later, so only constant is change and regressions, like system libraries, like C libraries and Linux kernel still fighting each other with implementation details, because otherwise it probably would be too boring. And so that is most likely glibc versus Linux kernel headers. RISCV here in our T2 text stuff of Linux header and glibc. And even freaking glib has gmount 8, you can't make this stuff up. So, and then of course also util Linux has some libmount header, because of course it wouldn't be Unix if there would not be half a dozen ways to do something. So we have redefinitions here with Linux kernel versus the system C library most likely. So I suspect we would see this in all other architectures. The only reason we probably don't see this in all the other architectures, from ARM to x86 with all the PowerPC, MIPS, Super H and OpenRISC and 25 in between, is that RISCV has the newest right now. Also, I slightly wonder why does it not fail for, maybe it doesn't fail for RISCV 64-bit, because that was in the Linux kernel earlier of all things. So I suspect for RISCV we have the newest. So even here we probably don't have an overlay. And here we might have. Do we? Actually, I also just deleted. I hope I didn't over delete. Actually we don't. I hope I didn't over delete stuff, because maybe I made a mistake there. Not that I deleted too much. Linux header. I should more often watch closely. Oops. So yeah, I just deleted nothing like left on this channel. I just deleted that remerge, merge. What? Merge best written correctly. Probably restores it. So we have an overlay there because initially, so the 32-bit ABI stuff wasn't ready for crazy reasons, as the usual community stuff, and couldn't agree. And although I mean, it wasn't really on the market, I appreciate taking the time and doing it right, not like in MIPS and Spark, where mostly MIPS everything is strangely YOLO'd because different than yesterday's video, right? Stat and stuff. Structures, maybe IRIX compatible, who knows. And so I appreciate taking the time. So probably like later when we update the Linux headers in a year or two, we usually don't update them often. We prefer as old Linux header as possible because we don't want to have the only constant change and random breakage. And I had this always, even with joystick ABI and like this mount stuff, right? So if we would use Linux kernel header that is even newer, we would probably have the same breakage on other architectures. So we have multiple ways to fix this. So how to fix this? Why is this so strangely shift? We have multiple ways to fix this. We could patch sys5 we could, and embutils, but then the problem is we need to patch all of them. Maybe we simply patch the RISC-V headers, the 32-bit headers for now. Let's see how we do that. So that would be sys5 init here. So I go into the build, where is it? Failed. Kept the sources there. So that making that, it certainly failed like that. And then if we modify this for a quick test, so I mean we could diff that of what changed there. Given that our Linux headers are relatively old, probably a lot, like including sorting and white spaces, recurring theme, the Linux kernel people love to move stuff around for cleanup reasons. So if we diff it, likely 100 or 10,000, if not 100,000 changes. Usually more area. So that was mount and command reconfigure. So I mean, we could also grab, so a quick way instead of diffing that, which also, actually, you know what, we could theoretically, should we? I mean, we could try to diff it, you know what, we wouldn't be a low-level channel if we wouldn't try to diff that. So, URN versus RISC 564, we have that, of course, so that are the older ones, and so they might change slightly due to 64-bit things, but they should be relatively similar, so actually, we could diff stat that. So only I was off a little bit. I expected 10,000, but it's only like 3,500 insertions, so like 4,500 lines. So what usually changes? There was some unused stuff reserved. So there is 1 to 7 bits. Although some stuff might actually also. This is ADFS. So yeah, it's just some copyright stuff. There is some new PADFD. Why is that? This is just an addition. Just a little bit tabs and stuff. Also, this might actually be a line, right? If this triggers you This might just because one extra space and plus, and then it's just the extra plus and space. So IU, virt.io, so that might actually, you know what, maybe that would be in headers, that would be nice to have. Maybe we need to update all of those headers sooner than later. So yeah, this is kind of stuff that is changed in the Linux kernel, virtual user space IO region types here. If you ever wondered. And also, yeah, pro tip, people always ask me how to learn something. Like, look, read the sources and diffs, especially in the area of your interest. So we wanted mount, so that was fs config stuff. So yeah, that is fully newly fs pigflex edit. So we're extremely close to the release, right? So how to tackle that? A quick fix and hack and workaround would be simply to disable that. That is often the easiest thing, and let's maybe try that for today. The other thing is to update all the generic, like we could then check where this was added, because a lot of other ABI changes would probably also be nice to have for this VFIO and mount and stuff like that. But we are like -2 days, like aka after our estimated planned release date, that was October the 30th of T2 2210. But as you see here, recurrently every day there's stuff to fix. So if it would not be like -2 days before release, we could upgrade Linux header and see if like rebuilding glibc and stuff changes headers enough. Although we might then have still to fix, maybe it would not auto fix itself with glibc headers and so on. So we might still have this 5init and embutils. But it's also a thing, right? Linux kernel header ABI stuff changes because new stuff and then other old stuff fails, right? Also in this case, can't blame them too much. Probably embutils and this 5init had added that there because it wasn't publicly exposed yet. So it's often the thing because it's not yet standard and not yet shipped, and then people custom copy and paste this syscontrol stuff to use it already. And everyone, welcome there. The most number one question on this channel, I probably should pin it. What is a font? That is Comic Code, a commercial font that I just purchased and licensed as a joke. But I and all of you like it so much that I continued using it. So there's it. And yes, otherwise I love open source and use open source and free fonts, but giving credit and back where credit is due, I licensed that font because I liked it. And that is the right thing to pay people for their work. So mount, so let's see fs config, also this was div. Alright, this was wrong, so we wanted that probably there. Or did I had this there already? So how to disable that, I usually use, you could delete it, but the diff is larger, so I usually just end of 0. Here, fs, and oh, this is fs mount, probably more like here. And so let's first see if that builds, and it builds, amazing. And then that is also embutils, it might be fixed the same way. But yeah, 2022 or the last years, mount APIs, state-of-the-art innovation. Oh, it also fixes that. So that is not yet the real fix. Did I build the other thing? Because did I probably did not build this, which is a good thing. So we still need to patch the Linux kernel. So we do that by building. So this was only a test, but that is not permanent because we only tweaked that, patched that in place, we edited that in place, which is obviously not a long-term and reproducible solution to rebuild that for you or me on another build. So let's build that. So best verbose, because what I usually, pro tip, don't randomly YOLO stuff, which I even I sometimes do, because otherwise it's like I'm feeling like, and then press Ctrl+C. But if we run this verbose, we actually know that it's extracted. Otherwise it's a little bit of a Russian roulette of, is the stuff extracted enough to hit Ctrl+C. which is verbose is coming handy there. Was the second, I probably did this twice. So let's patch this in the Linux sources proper. So that was mount 8, that is somewhere in UAPI probably, so that should be this one of all the many. It can never have too many mount headers. With this config here, so let's redo that off. Oops. I mean, theoretically we could actually in place diff that with my system root, but you can also just do it like that. And then, so theoretically fix file diff in T2, that is T2 helper command stuff, so hot fix mount h.patch. It's probably, is it? And actually I'm wondering if that T2 stuff stores it in the right directory. Actually it does, I didn't expect that, but yeah, it's using confdir. It's actually, I'm surprised by my own script that is so advanced, that because it's an overlay, I didn't, but yeah, the confdir variable is set to the overlay. So then we can actually rebuild all of that fully. We could rebuild this verbose for the YouTube views, that you see everything, that you see the matrix, aka building sources scrolling by. So that will build Linux header, and then embutils and sysvinit, and then we are very close, like only -2 days late. It's 2 days late. Only T-2 days of our Linux distribution release. That is, if you're new to this channel, T2 just freaking high performance and secure raw Linux. Curated here, live from Berlin, live on this channel. And so that is the Linux kernel. So I suspect we probably already built sysvinit, did we? Yeah, but the Linux kernel also needed building. So yeah, that's it for the video. That is how you patch stuff. Other stuff, it's like, it's often APIs. We also had clone stuff, and what was it even? Recently new system calls. So in new system calls, it's often stuff like that, right? Or there was a typo, or like they introduced stuff with similar names that someone used, or it's BSD versus like code. Like often packages has stuff that BSD had already and Linux or adds this or the other way around, and then this is how stuff usually breaks. Or recently, of some system call, I just forgot what it was. Like the Linux kernel folks have implemented a little bit different than the BSD people. I think with one extra argument for variants and future safety stuff, some FD or whatever, I forgot what it was. Or it's also like glib, like not glibc, but glib of GNOME and GDK fame and stuff. Or in the meantime, other system projects. glib incompatibilities, changed APIs, or don't get me started with GDK plus or GTK. So I removed the plus, it's only GDK now. But yeah, usually, yeah, people change stuff, right? The can see me here, or you can buy a shirt in our merchandise. So only constant is change and regressions. People change something because cleanup, or adding arguments, and so on. And then the low-level C language of not having support for arguments. In C++, you could actually, well, you would not have this binary compatible, but at least it's not ideal. But at least you could have default arguments, so theoretically it would at least be source code compatible with C++. Still not 100% amazing, but at least a little bit better, that you could have a new argument and in the sources defaults as to whatever previously was the default, and stuff you wouldn't have in C. But anyway, so yeah, someone comments, you've got some mid skills. Thanks for that. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something. If you enjoyed this, learned something, don't forget to share and subscribe. There's also Patreon, GitHub sponsorship or YouTube membership and stuff. I have some Linux version to release. We still have some tiny little stuff to polish. As per usual, my to-do is way too long. Of all the, including I will probably not even live stream that, so we're mostly through. This is also probably done, only need to test that. But alright, I also wanted to patch this. So I still have at least these two things, and then some testing, more testing, maybe some random fixes here and there of all this stuff that randomly breaks. And that's it for the video. A shorter video of concentrating of just fixing one thing, plus some surrounding story and guidance. Have a good day or night, and I hope to see you next time.